folks, welcome back to Don't Be Kurt. And today I'm going to review something that I've had for a little while because I think it's great. A few videos ago, or maybe last year, I reviewed what I thought was the fastest sedan family car that nobody talked about, the Audi S8. And today I bring you my 2017 Mercedes-Benz GLS 550, which I believe is the fastest family SUV, large size SUV that nobody talks about. And we're going to get into why I think it's great, why I think nobody talks about it, and why I think it's bigger than it looks. It does more than what you think it can do. So let's get into it. This GLS is a 2017, so it's a second generation facelift model. So with the facelift, they changed the front fascia, they added an S to the name, so it went from GL to GLS, updated electronics. There's a minor facelift that kind of, I think today, even in 2024, keeps it looking quite modern and fits right in, even though the second gen was introduced in 2012. There is a third gen that's currently out right now that was introduced in 2019. But for this video, we're talking about this one, why I think it's great, and why I think people should consider it. So let's get into a little bit of history first. So I was never in the market for one of these. In fact, I had no interest in a GL, GLS, or whatever. But I have shenanigans on the brains, which means I was looking for a twin turbocharged car. And I wanted to go fast before we didn't have those things anymore and we went all EV. I'm not against EVs, please anybody, I would love to have one, but I still want to have the thrill of a twin turbo V8 car. We all know about the badness of the BMW N63 engine, even though that's typically my choice for a type of car. But Mercedes has seemed to have the V8 market rock solid. Aren't too many terrible problems. I mean, yeah, every car's got problems, but these seem to be manageable. So let's get into and look at this thing here, because it's the GLS 550, and it's the one that comes with a twin turbo V8 that's not an AMG. So let me, let's pop the, or as my father would say, let's fly the hood. So Mercedes has a 4.7 liter twin turbo V8 that is roughly 453 horsepower and 516 foot-pounds of torque that seems to be instantly available. I've not really noticed much in terms of turbo lag. There's other lag, I think, in terms of the transmission engagement, but we'll talk about that later when we go for a drive. But this is it. This is the same engine that's in their SL 550, E550, you name it, this engine's in there. And a little birdie once told me that there's not too much difference between this 4.7 liter twin turbo V8 and the one in their AMG platform. I don't know that. Leave in the comment section what the differences are. I'd love to know, but I'm happy with the engine as it is anyways. It does go. So while I was looking for this twin turbo V8, I stumbled upon this GLS, and as luck would have it, I ran into this thing I never considered before, luxury. So I've never had a car that was supremely luxurious as this, to have such stuff like soft closed doors. And you might say these are all things that could potentially break or whatever, but it is what it is. I'm just gonna enjoy the car and deal with what happens when it comes later, but it does have these things. And part of why I'm also talking this video is not necessarily to tell people to go buy a brand new one of these, because heavens no, this car was like 120 grand brand new, and as you who follow me on this channel know, I am not interested in things over 6 figures right now. But I did buy this car after all the depreciation hit and stuff like that, and paid about 50 grand for it back in 2021. And I think for the value, what you get compared to what was available also in the same price range, you get a lot. So I'm gonna go give a better tour. Let's go a little closer look around and we'll talk some more about this. All right, so the interior of the GLS. So earlier I said luxurious. Now there's one catch to this, right? So in today's era of 12.9-inch screens and all sorts of stuff like that, you're not gonna get that. So in 2017, it would appear that Mercedes, even though this was a refresh, was kind of slow in the uptake on passing for their modern design language into the GLS. So you get more of what I would say would be your late 2000s, early 2010s design with, I believe it was like an 8-inch screen here, analog gauges, and all different features in terms of like climate control and stuff like that. And the other thing with this, and I'll demonstrate here, is you get Mercedes-Benz Command. And that's probably the worst part about this here, because Command is just a bunch of grafted on stuff. For those who are IT, this feels like the MS-DOS of car infotainment systems, meaning like things were just glommed on. There's not true proper integration and stuff. But I digress. I mean, other things you get in this car were massaging seats. It does have ventilated seats. And like I said, it was fully featured for the price that I was looking at when I was buying this car, compared to what, at the time, I think a brand new fully loaded Pathfinder was like $50,000. MDX was a lot more expensive, and this just had a lot to offer it, including the performance, which was the one thing you just cannot get in a lot of large SUVs. And also, we'll get into the seats here. This car has a lot more storage in it than you think. So you see a GMC or a Chevy Tahoe or even an Expedition, and you would think these are so much larger. Now, yes, they are overall larger, but not by as much as you think. And in certain places, Tahoe is smaller, most notably third row room. All right, so let's get into some of the stuff that's a little backwards in here. So we're going to look here and we're going to mess with the infotainment system. And right now we're in CarPlay mode. And let's say I want to turn these massage seats I turned on, talked about on. So this is where, while it's cool to have it, it's not all that useful. So let's see. So to basically get in there, you're going to go in here and you're going to click the Mercedes icon, which throws you back into Command. And then you're presented with this here, which you can slide over to seat settings. And then if right now, because I just last used this thing, you can turn on and adjust the different surfaces and stuff like that in here. We're going to find massage. You click on that, and then you can go here and find the one you want, and then click the start button. Or I'm showing you, I mean, it's legitimately this difficult. So I'm going to pick classic massage, and it starts. And that's that. Not the best while driving. Now, you might say, what is it like when you're not using CarPlay? Now, you might have a point there. So when you're not using CarPlay, and gives you this fabulous thing, you have this little touchpad here, which then you get some form of a quick menu system here where you can go straight to it. But, you know, modern people are going to be using CarPlay. I don't think anybody's going to be relying on the old school Mercedes navigation system as demonstrated here. I mean, it works, but it's not that great. If you're used to Google Maps or Apple Maps or whatever it is you might want to use. Also, with Command, it hasn't changed. I had a 2008 Mercedes C-Class, and it's all the same. It's legitimately all the same stuff here. And don't get me into trying to use Bluetooth audio or trying to get CarPlay going in here. There's a lot of menu diving, but that's not what this review is for. But just note that the infotainment is probably this car's weak. Now, oddly, like I said, it's 2017, so it has some modern stuff. Like, for example, while I complain about Command, the backup camera is legit. So you get a top-down view, 360 view. You can switch this into different forms where you can get a wider angle view from the back bumper. And then, if you're going forward, it also can direct and show you from a front camera view. So you have front camera, you have back camera. It's pretty good for considering it's 2017 for what it can do. And then as Mercedes goes, that bar right there shows different lights as kind of a distance thing. And then behind, there's one you can see in your rearview mirror that kind of shows like proximity to things. So it makes it really easy to maneuver this thing, even though it's quite large. Other parts of the car that seem to have been glommed on that works, but you can tell this was a addition to an older car, is the somewhat of a panel roof. Now, this part, the front part's the only part that opens, but you do get the glass roof for those in the second row, and the third row, of course, you're too far back. But it does have these things, and this adds on to the parts of this Mercedes where just things that are, I thought we were done with in 2017 were still here, like a dial pad, for example, which if you're an executive, it does come in handy. Well, maybe not as much now. We have Teams and Zoom and Slack and stuff like that, or whatever people meet. But in the day of dialing into conferences, This was a godsend for putting in your conference ID. Just saying that for you business people out there, you know what I'm talking about. All right, so let's talk about interior space. Second row right now, again, I'm 5'10". The front row and the passenger seat in front of me is positioned about where I would be in the driving position, which is, should be comfortable with somebody between 5'10" and 6 feet tall. And you see plenty of, well, maybe not see, there's plenty of leg room here. I can stretch my feet out and feel good. But the part that got me even more intrigued about this car was the third row capabilities, which if you look it up, it actually has more third row room than a Chevy Tahoe. And you see these Tahoes, you think there's a much larger vehicle, but they're not. So let's demonstrate how you get back there. So this is a 2017 car, so it's not going to be quite as fancy, but it does do a little bit to help you out. So pressing this button here, first off, it moves the front seat up, so hopefully nobody's sitting there, and then flips this up, and you just get back in here, and you can come down in here, have a seat, pull this back down with you, a little bit manual, and you're back here. And of course, if somebody was sitting here, you would raise your seat rest back up, and you'd be good to go. So sitting back here with the seat kind of, not in a properly reclined position, there's just enough room for somebody my size to sit back here like that. Now, say I was here behind where the seats recline, there's just a finger length of distance. So I wouldn't say this is good for a long trip or whatever, but I would certainly feel comfortable taking this around town if we had to take a bunch of 6 foot or under people just for a ride from point A to point B, but not necessarily a road trip. And to get out, you do the same thing here. You can either press this button or you can pull the release if there's no power. So you press the button, flips out, you get out, and there you go. So I did say, and I tried to maintain a fair review. So again, 2017 GLS, there's a couple things that it doesn't have. So I didn't talk about the front, but clearly it's not gonna be any USB-C. In fact, there's 2 USB ports. One is for CarPlay, and the other one, I guess, does some sort of MP3 playback. I haven't quite figured it out yet, but those are the only 2 USB ports. For power in the back, there is a single, underneath this mat, down at the very bottom, there's a 12-volt power line back here. Used to call it cigarette light adapter. I don't know what its formal name is for that, but you have one there. And there's a 120-volt household power back here, which is good for about 100 watts. Outside of that, all the passengers have they got climate control and they got rear heated seats for either side. I've never confirmed the middle is actually warm, but I do know right and left is. So that might be something I'll have to ask my passengers again during the winter. And that's the interior. I mean, this it's got standard S-Class quality in terms of the leather and stuff like that. I would say the plastics in the front are just a little bit dodgy. This center piece here isn't the best. And again, here's the climate control unit back here in the second row. Again, showing the heated seat controls and what you can do. And it is truly independent of what's going on up front. And this is the interior of your GLS. And it's luxurious, yes. Is it modern? Nah, not really. Hey, quick, while I'm editing, and notice I forgot to mention this fact about the GLS, it only has 6 cup holders. 2 in the front, where one is small, one is large, which if you have somebody uses a big Yeti cup or I guess a Stanley cup or whatever, it's only gonna fit in one of those 2 slots. It is heated and cooled. There's 2 in the middle row, I believe, and 2 more in the third row. And that's it. It doesn't fit the mold of your 19 cup holders like some other vehicles have, but they do exist, but not many. And that is a flaw, or it could be a bonus. Depends on how you look at it. As this car is actually, well, not really a daily driver. I drive a lot of my cars, but I drive this car frequently for my photography assignments or just need to go to church and bring my trombone with me. But just wanted to demonstrate with the third row up, you have enough space, and I didn't bring any suitcases with me, for about 2 or 3 of those small carry-on luggage bags that go on here. So if you had to have a third row open traveling, you do have a limited amount of luggage space you can use with a third row up. If it's down, and I just wanted to demonstrate this, it's kind of dumb. it won't go all the way down with the headrest up, even though in the second row it'll put the headrest down by itself. So here you kind of have to finagle it, and then you can do that. And down we go. So the third row has 2 cup holders, and that's about it. And you get quite a bit of space once it's down. So we've talked about the interior, the infotainment, some of the luxury features and stuff like that. But would you believe the Mercedes, the maker of the G-Wagon, wouldn't put some off-road capabilities into this? They did. And I've never taken this off-road, so those of you who go mudding and do all that type of stuff, don't judge me. I would love to try this, and I don't know whether it's capable or not, but I do think it can do a couple cool things. Like, one is, this has an off-road plus package, so I'm gonna go ahead and demonstrate in slow motion, well, not really slow motion, it's just that slow, it raising up in its full off-road capability mode. One sec. So you gotta go inside here, and then once you're in the car, you get this nice little mode selector. So in here, you can either race it up manually, or you can pick these other activity modes, which you have sport, comfort, individual, slick, just a bunch of different modes there. Yeah, there you go, off-road and off-road plus. So once you put in off-road plus, you come here and the dashboard will start showing you that it is doing something, which is trying to rise up. And you see there, once you're in off-road plus mode, your maximum speed then becomes 25 miles per hour once you're at maximum height. So we're outside now watching the car raise, and we will see how long it takes. And still going. You hear the little motor going. Now, while this is happening, I do recognize that air suspension is typically the thing known to go bad in most of these cars. And I know that will be the truth for this car because it indeed has failed already, and I've replaced that. And we'll get to maintenance a little later on, what the other caveats to buying a vehicle like this are. But it's raising up, and we'll be able to have maximum clearance. There's another notch here. So Off-Road Plus only takes you to the second notch here. There's one more, and once you get to there, your max speed then becomes 12 miles per hour. So when you're in this mode, the lock is, the center differential is locked, and you are ready to do whatever off-roading this thing thinks it's capable of doing, or whatever it's supposed to do. I don't know. I would love the invitation. Any of you Missouri folks who have some light trail experience and want to have me come out and make a fool of myself, let me know. I'd be more than willing to do it. So once you got this car taken all the way to off-road plus mode where it's at maximum height, its clearance is 12.5 inches. Again, I don't do off-roading. I don't know what the hell, I don't know what the entry points are. I don't know what any of those things are, but I do think maybe with the front camera and that type of stuff, maybe in a jam you could get yourself out of it. I don't know. Leave me a comment. Tell me about this thing if there's anybody out there who's actually used one of these things off-road. And I just want to quick with the off-road plus package. It also has a central locking diff. So you guys tell me, you off-road folks, would you take this thing off-road with proper tires? Right now I'm running Conti Extreme Contact, so I'm pretty sure these is a negative for these tires. But would you consider taking this off-road? Can it do light trail riding? I don't know. You guys let me know. This is part of the review where Kurt asks all of you questions about the vehicle he has. I bought it for speed first, and then luxury happened to be a happy addition. And then when I got the car and really took a close look, I saw it had the off-road package, so I wasn't really concerned about that. But if it can do it, I wouldn't mind trying to do some light trail riding. Well, apparently I lied. There's another notch here. So Off-Road Plus only takes you to the second notch here. There's one more, and once you get to there, your max speed then becomes 12 miles per hour. So when you're in this mode, the lock is, the center differential is locked, and you are ready to do whatever off-roading this thing thinks it's capable of doing, or whatever it's supposed to do. I don't know. I would love the invitation. Any of you Missouri folks who have some light. All right, so we're in the car now. We're about to take a little ride, but I want to talk about performance of this. So as I mentioned before, This vehicle has a 4.7 liter twin turbo V8 with 9-speed automatic transmission, and that was part of my attraction to the vehicle, was finding a vehicle or finding a car at the time that had that. Sounds dumb, but that's what it was. And I really wanted the BMW M550i, but I was trading in a Nissan Pathfinder that I had here and really needed some sort of utility vehicle, as I have a family of 4. I got a Labrador, and we tried traveling in our other car, X3 like that, and that didn't quite work. So that kind of led me to this car, which I never really thought of before until I saw it in person. And as you've seen in the video with the midnight black package, looks pretty good. So this car does have some performance points to it. I mean, 0 to 60, it's about roughly 5.1 seconds. It does a quarter in 13.7. And on a skid pad, it can manage a 0.8 Gs, which puts it in line with a Porsche Cayenne, X5M, the Range Rover Sport, and a lot of much smaller, nimbler SUVs, which you would consider nimbler SUVs. But Mercedes has done some work and some magic with this GLS where it can handle with them and accelerate with them. Now, you might say those will beat it in a 0 to 60 in the drag race, and you're probably right. Those are definitely faster SUVs in a straight line, but on a course, which nobody would take these on a race course, but if you theoretically did, this would be able to manage around the turns with them just fine. And as per usual, I'm going to take this onto my favorite exit and just demonstrate how capable I think this vehicle is. Oh, also, another thing I wanted to bring up, if you're comparing it against its other luxury American competitors, unless you get the big boy Escalade, the V1, or I don't even know if they make a Navigator, a Lincoln Navigator that has performance characteristics. I've never heard of one, but this is still a better option, bang for buck. You can fight me on that one. I'll die on that hill. But nonetheless, let's go for a ride. So let's put this in the right mode. We're in comfort mode. I'm not sure if the mic picked it up. The engine kind of changes tone a little bit. And once this goes away, you get a nice little gauge here of what's going on in the engine with your coolant temperature, horsepower, and torque information, voltmeter. That's kind of cool. I mean, I don't go in this mode often. As you saw with the massage seats, it's not really easy to get into any of the things that the car has to offer, but it's neat nonetheless. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, this thing has Distronic Plus, which is rudimentary lane keep assistant, some driving aids and stuff like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and enable this and we'll just go. So right now, the steering wheel in there is white. It normally turns green when it feels like it's reading the road correctly. So I don't expect much right now during this test, but we are in Distronic mode and we're going to see if it carries its turn. And it does not right now. As I suggested, it's not reading the road. But hopefully we can keep going and I can prove that it does. But right now it is slowing down due to the car in front of us and doing its thing. Now we can use all the power. Pretty neat. All right, so as detailed earlier, I have the car in sport mode, and I know a lot of people are like, does it really do anything? In this car, there is a measurable difference between all the different modes, most notably in handling. In sport mode, this is really stiff. I mean, it does tighten up those airbags a lot, where it is quite noticeable, and the throttle response is very sharp. Not as sharp as I would like, and that adds on to some feature stuff I'd love to do this vehicle, like maybe a Weiss Tech tune to tighten the transmission and throttle response in here, but good enough for 99.99999% of the people in the world. But in comfort mode, it rides like a pillow. It's super, super comfortable. Turn this on, turn your massage seats on, put in your favorite Sirius XM station, and enjoy a road trip. I've done several. I've taken this car to from St. Louis to New York City, St. Louis to DC, St. Louis to the Panhandle of Florida, and it's been a pleasure on each one of those journeys. So the transmission, while I say it's a little laggy, when you do anticipate using paddle shifters, it goes pretty quick. So I mentioned before, the transmission seems sometimes to be a delayed response. I will say this much: when manual shifting, it does respond fairly quickly for just being a regular torque converter automatic. just like your ZF 8-speed that's on BMWs and Chrysler products. It's a pretty good transmission. Just if you're wanting to step on it right at the instant and go, it just has it thinks about it for a second. But when you paddle shift, it seems to be quick. I don't know why that is. I mean, that's I haven't spoken to an engineer, and this is just a regular guy reviewing his regular car that he thinks might be good for other people to drive. All right, so finally it's green. So Distronic is doing this thing. You can't keep your hands off the steering wheel too long, so it'll alert you. And we're cruising now. And as you can see, it's going around the turn by itself. It's all stuff that those more modern cars will get used to, but you know, this old bird 2017 seems to do a pretty good job. So you can sit back, set your Distronic Plus, keep one hand on the steering wheel, turn your massage seats on, and just enjoy the ride. I might think it's a pillow. I'll caveat that. If you're used to a very, very cushy ride, this might not seem the cushiest. Maybe it is. I don't know. My frame of reference, though, is a Porsche Boxster S and a BMW 318i. So when I get in here, this just feels like I'm riding on a pillow or a cloud. Again, just demonstrating some of the Distronic skills. You know, I think for 2017, as rudimentary as the rest of this technology in this car is, it does a pretty good job. Car is passing, no worries of hitting them and stuff like that. It does its thing. And now I got a touch. And then I go over this overpass here. Even handles the bump, still handles the turn. And we'll be getting off the highway soon. But just wanted to demonstrate the comfort of this car on the highway. Alright, so now there's a grab bag of features. So this car does have auto-aiming headlights, well, as much as we can have in America based on our road standards. So it manages the brights for you and those type of things. And there goes the beep for it thought I was going to collide with the guardrail, which I wasn't. Also, well, I mean, what else does this thing have? It's just alright, so you got your GLS in sport mode, and maybe you're a little bit of excitement is taking an exit at, you know, it's a nice clip. So the GLS, I mean, it's just, you can hear all my stuff flying. It's just, it does it. I mean, it doesn't feel like a big, large SUV at all in any of these types of turns or situations. And did I also mention braking, that out of all the vehicles in this class, it has amongst the best brakes in terms of coming from a stop from 60 to 0. Now you all know I judge a car by its sound system, and yes, this has the, I guess, a factory Harman Kardon system in here, and it's legit. It's good enough. It does everything I need it to do. Anything I listen to, whatever genre, hip hop, reggae, R&B, pop, it's well balanced. It's pretty good. It does the job. Could there always be better? Sure, but I feel no need to have to rip this out or do any additional work to get the type of sound I like to have when I'm driving a car. So the GLS 550 is just one of these not really talked about SUVs. A lot of folks are excited about maybe a 7, maybe a Cadillac Escalade, the Lincoln Navigator, but I never really heard a lot of folks talk about the GLS 550. And I think it's something that's been slept on, especially if you're looking for something a little performant. And you know, you can have you can do a little off-roading, which I'm just saying based on theory, or take some long trips in comfortably. Yes, it has its drawbacks with maintenance and stuff like that, but it's not a bad car. And for its last trick I want to do to show some maintenance, which people might think is a party trick, but I actually use this more often than I thought I would, is its ability to park itself. So let's go. In reverse. Yes, it can do it. I say yep. And let's see what it does. So, no hands. And the Mini is right next to us, watching it do its thing. And cutting in. And as I'm going to probably see the double camera action here. We are still backing up. And now it says it's done. Mini in front, camera, we're looking at each other there, in front of the house, and that's that. So let's go wrap this thing up. So that's it, the 2017 GLS 550. The most not talked about sports SUV that's out there. It can handle itself with the much smaller SUVs like the X5, the Porsche Cayenne. It can pull almost the same amount of G's on a skid pad. Do the quarter in 13.7. That's in its non-tuned form. It can pull about 7,500 pounds. We didn't talk about that one, but it can tow. Has some off-road capabilities. Has one of the roomiest third rows out of all the large size, not necessarily extended wheelbase SUVs, but standard large SUVs. And right now, this SUV, if you want to get an equivalent, 2017 GLS 550 is about $25,000 these days. So yes, I too am taking some depreciation hits, but it's okay. I'm enjoying the car. Now, would I suggest this? Absolutely. But with a caveat, this has maintenance costs, just like any other European car or whatever. So you would have to buy this understanding that either you need to get a good third-party warranty, be able to wrench on yourself, or have a good independent mechanic, because the cost savings of getting a cheap luxury European car goes out the window really quickly, especially one that wasn't well taken care of. With this one so far, I've had the experience of air suspension going out, which I want to blame my kid. It happened in a weird time frame where I feel like driving under some deep water might have caused an issue. Also, we had an issue where the radiator on it went out, which is not a normal thing I've noticed on most of the reviews for this car to be an issue. And finally, what was the other thing? No, that's about it. Those are the two major ones. I had changed the battery, but the car at this point is 7 years old, so who would not expect that? But drives great. It's comfortable. It's a family hauler. It can go quick from point A to point B. Definitely recommend it. And again, guys, that's the end of this review, and I hope you guys liked it. If you do, please hit that like button, please subscribe, and come back again, because we're going to do another comparison with this SUV against the Grand Cherokee L and the Mazda CX-9, and just to see between the different cost points between brand new Grand Cherokee L, used Mazda CX-9D, and this, what can do the best and what's the best bang for the buck, ignoring maintenance costs, of course. Anyways, hope you all enjoyed it. Peace. Catch y'all later.